Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this Thursday morning webinar. I am Chloe Tetro. I'm the coaching lead for Ready Care. For this morning, we're going to look at the topic of how to get out of your own way, in lots of, it can show itself in lots of different ways where, you know, if you've ever wanted to do something and think, jeepers, why can't I just do the task? Why can't I just get it together and get on with things? And why is it I really want to undertake this particular goal, this particular intention, but there's just always seems to be something getting in the way. So what we'll focus on for this morning is internal obstacles. I've broken it down into two sections just for today. Now there's a lot of different types of internal obstacles, or there are a lot of different types of internal obstacles. But for this morning's webinar, I've broken it down into limiting beliefs and self-awareness section. And towards the end of this webinar, what I've done is I'm going to be adding in particular prompts, so questions that you may be asked in a coaching session. I've just bookended this webinar with those questions. So if you're resonating with some of the information from this webinar, insofar as you can really identify, jeepers, yeah, I really do that, but what do I do about it? You can just skip out to the end or just pause and take out a little journal for yourself to help. It's basically to use as journaling prompts or little reminders you can put on your phone to start to change your internal dialogue around those perceived internal obstacles. So to start off with, what are limiting beliefs? And for any of you into kind of self-development or that followed kind of DIY self-development, be it on YouTube, TikTok, or blogs, you've probably likely come across this particular term. So limited beliefs are these kind of deeply ingrained convictions that will constrain our actions, our perceptions, and they prevent us from achieving our full potential. So these beliefs often manifest as negative self-talk or automatic thoughts, things that we don't even realize that we think about ourselves. Things like, I'm not good enough, I don't deserve this, or I'll never be able to do that. So they're formed from lots of different sources, particularly past experiences, cultural and societal influences, family dynamics, and even things that we pick up from the media. So, for example, a person who has repeatedly experienced failure in a particular area might develop a belief that they are inherently incapable of succeeding in that domain. Now, a kind of a core component of limiting beliefs is that there's a very fixed mindset around them. So what I mean by that is where self-limiting beliefs come in is not only are they kind of under the surface, so they're kind of hard to get a latch onto, but inherent in their essence is this idea that they're fixed, that there's no changing it, that I don't feel good enough, and that's it forever. There's a definite lack of believing that things can change, things can be different. So that's how you spot them. So they're formed. Typically, they develop over time through repeated exposure to negative feedback or adverse experiences. Childhood particularly is the kind of critical period that they can form. And when a child hears criticism or discouragement, they might internalize these messages, which basically means they start to speak themselves in that particular way as well. One that lots of people I've come across, particularly where there's a level of neurodivergence, so people that would be either on the ADHD or autistic spectrum. Some of my clients will say back that they felt different, and they suffered a little bit of social discrimination over that. So some of the limiting beliefs that can come with that is there's something wrong with me, or I feel like there's something wrong with me, and those left unchecked can kind of snowball into our adulthood without ever taking a look at that limiting belief. And from that core belief, a lot of our behaviors and self-identity can come into it. And using that as an example, if we fundamentally believe that I'm outcast, or I'm different, or there's something wrong with me, the types of behaviors that we can start to adopt will start to reflect that. Now, people can have those beliefs of themselves even if they're not part of neurodivergent way of thinking. They could have that if they've come from a family where they felt a little bit left behind, or a parent may have left, or lots of different familial dynamics a child can take on and go, jeepers, there must be something wrong with me that these things are happening. So these types of messages, and there are lots of different messages. I'm not good enough is one of the biggest ones that people will have, or I'm not able for that, I can't do that. A lot of these things become kind of interwoven into how we view ourselves as an individual, as an autonomous being. And when we undertake specific tasks that we really care about, and we go, jeepers, I seem to be getting in my own way a lot, oftentimes it's an outward manifestation through our subconscious and automatic behaviors that we try to match who we believe ourselves to be. So how these, if you're kind of going, I'm resonating a little bit where that's concerned. Even from outside of the family unit, outside of childhood, social and cultural conditioning can also play a huge role. So societal norms and stereotypes can impose limitations on what individuals believe that they can achieve. So a very broad example of that can be if a woman feels that she can't do specific things that a man can do, because she may have grown up believing that that's not for her. Or on the flip side, a man may believe he has to be a particular way, and he's got that really, really core belief about it of, I have to exhibit a particular identity, and they might find themselves getting really worn down by that belief, really worn down, and their behaviors might start to reflect and basically impede their experience of themselves and the world at large based on that, particular stereotypes, particular gender roles. That can influence not only our behaviors day to day, but remember, our behaviors day to day build up, they accrue. Our habits and our decisions build up over an arc and become the fabric of our lives. So what we start to weave, what we're starting to create, is a life predicated on things that we've kind of swallowed whole, either from our family or from society, that may not be ours to begin with. They can profoundly influence our abilities and our behaviors. So when we hold that belief that we're not capable of achieving something, it can lead to what's called a self-fulfilling prophecy. I like to kind of bring that down in, you are who you believe yourself to be. And that's very, very much how people will experience the world. So that psychological phenomenon occurs when an individual's expectations about their abilities affects their behavior, which ultimately cause these expectations to become true. So an example of that would be someone who believes they're not good at public speaking. They'll avoid opportunities to speak publicly. So they'll never improve their skills in that area. So what will happen is they've basically imprisoned themselves into ever adapting, learning, being not great at it to begin with, but going, yeah, jeepers, that's how people learn, is not being great at something in the first instance. So the beliefs can really contribute to anxiety. They can really contribute to stress and inhibit our performance, and more importantly, our personal growth and our experience of the world at large and our own lives. So research demonstrates that limiting beliefs can be overcome. through targeted interventions. So there's a notable study that you can look up, which was done by Spencer, Steele and Quinn, which is a great name for a law firm or some kind of villains in a children's movie. So they did a study on stereotype threat, revealed that when women are reminded of their gender before taking a math test, they performed worse than when they weren't reminded, which is a very odd study, and there's a study out there for everything, really. So when interventions that focused on countering these stereotypes, they actually improved performances. Another one done by Blackwell and Dweck. So Carol Dweck, who's absolutely brilliant. Her work would be, she's done a lot of work on growth mindset, which is an antidote really to that fixed mindset of belief. So I'd recommend checking out Carol Dweck's work on mindset and growth mindset. So she showed that teaching students about the malleability of intelligence, i.e., you're not handed a set of cards when you're born and that's it. And a lot of people operate from that fixed mindset of thinking, historically, I have been bad at this task. I've taken that on as being an integral part of my personality. I am bad at taking tests. I'm bad at taking a sitting exam. Anything that requires a sitting exam, I'm just terrible at it. I don't have my driver's test because, historically, I'm just not good at that kind of thing where there's a test. So you can see how that starts to influence the options that we give ourselves in our lives. But I digress. She showed that teaching students about that malleability of intelligence, that things are adaptable. Neuroplasticity is a thing. We can learn, we can adapt. We don't have a fixed way of being. It actually led to improve academic performances. And these findings show that the power really in altering beliefs to influence outcomes positively. So with regards, POW, my next little sticker, with regards those limiting beliefs, so the core component of addressing these is really finding out that there is a limiting belief at play. That because they're automatic, because we've built a lot of our personality on it, it can go largely unchecked. It can really just be below our field of awareness around it. So the role of self-awareness in broadening out your chances at overcoming these known kind of bugs in the matrix, these bugs in our encoding that we all are subject to. There's none of us out there, unless there's people that work exceedingly hard day in, day out. It's a core component of human beings processing. So it's a core component of how our brain adapts, and most of the population out there has these in them. So a core component is core component. I've said that a few times now. Self-awareness. So increasing self-awareness is absolutely crucial in identifying and overcoming these limiting beliefs. By becoming more aware of thoughts and behaviors, individuals can recognize those patterns that are holding them back, that are getting in the way of their goals and their intentions going forward. So self-awareness involves introspection and an understanding of how one's behavior impacts others. So there's a dual awareness here that can help to see the discrepancy between their potential and actual performance driven by limited beliefs. Studies show that self-awareness, people who are more self-aware tend to be more confident. They make better decisions and build stronger relationships. They're also more effective leaders with high-performing teams. It helps in recognizing and dismantling those limiting beliefs by providing a clearer understanding of true capabilities and potential. So I'll hark back to that old kind of, it's been attributed to Socrates or the Oracle of Delphi as man, know thyself. The more you know yourself, the greater your life is going to be. And I don't mean this from an ultra egotistical perspective, but the more you're able to catch those automatic scripts, those bugs in the matrix, the more you have a chance to give yourself a really compassionate view of how can things be different? How can I be the author of my own script? How can I filter the oil from the water? You know, what was handed to me as a child? How much of that am I operating on day in, day out? How can I choose to filter what's mine and what are things that I choose to leave behind? And there's a level of what's that called? No, the word is gone. When the child becomes an adult, you know, that moving from a threshold of child to adult, that word's going to bug me now. It's stuck in there. It's on the tip of my brain. By identifying, understanding the barriers, that's the first step towards overcoming them. And when you bring awareness to the psychological and neurological factors that hold us back, it can begin to address that's the word is stuck there. Emancipation. Is that the word? Is that a word? Emancipation. I think it's a word. But anyway, that's the word I was thinking of. So the awareness enables us to interrupt those negative patterns, reframe our thinking, and adopt new behaviors that promote growth. It also helps us be more compassionate with ourselves and recognize that those barriers are not insurmountable obstacles, but challenges that we do have the power to overcome. The self-awareness also gives us an ability to leverage strengths and address weaknesses from a point of self-compassion. Like, self-awareness doesn't mean just being overly self-critical. It means being able to hold both, and that not really meaning anything about yourself rather than, yes, I'm a human being, I have strengths and weaknesses, big deal. So self-awareness allows people to accurately assess their strengths and weaknesses, and that honest self-assessment is really, really crucial for self-development. Now, if you are serious about giving yourself the best opportunity and the best shot of overcoming limiting self-beliefs, and, you know, if the goal that you're pursuing, that these limiting self-beliefs are kind of creating walls, if that goal is really, really important to you, cultivating self-awareness is just a fundamental step around it. There's no tiptoeing around it or sidestepping it. It has to become part of your day-to-day routine. So that said, self-reflection prompts. Chloe, all of that is well and grand, but how do I get started if it's outside of the field of my awareness? If I'm, you know, operating from an automatic place, how can I break that automaticness? So the eloquence out of me is absolutely outstanding. Okay, so if you're looking to identify particular self-limiting beliefs, get out a journal, get out a piece of paper, get out the notes app on your phone, and I've popped in 7 questions. What specific fears or doubts do I have about this task / goal / intention / intention? And how can I challenge these thoughts with evidence of past successes and strengths? So that question basically encourages you to identify and confront limiting beliefs and negative thought patterns by reflecting on past successes and strengths. That'll help to reframe. So what specific fears or doubts do I have about this task? So let's say you are going public speaking. I'm afraid that I'm going to make a fool of myself. I think that I'm just not able for these things. 2 prompts, 2 starting points. Wherever you find the problem, you usually have great information about your own solution. I'm afraid I'm going to make a fool of myself. Be curious about it. Get the detective hat on for yourself. Do I have evidence of me being a very capable person? Do I have evidence of me being able to learn a skill? Can I study up to this skill? I can't remember the other point. Am I going to make a fool of myself and I'm just no good at something? Do I have evidence of previously not being good at something and getting better? There's a there's a great saying on the internet sphere with people or younger people when it comes to gaming and all that thing is just get good. I love that. It's just get good at it. It's usually used as an insult, but something to take into the everyday is you're not going to be amazing at most things. And I'm sorry if that's a blow to the ego, but most people are not going to be amazing at playing the trumpet the first time they're handed a trumpet. Just allow yourself, take some of the weight of expectation of you needing to be perfect at something the first go. It's an impossible standard. So, second question, how does this new task align with my core values and long-term goals? And what small steps can I take today to move closer to achieving it? What's really important to me? And can I make the discomfort of not being excellent at something at my first try less important than things that inherently mean the world to me? So it helps that the question helps to connect to the task that you're trying to undertake with intrinsic motivation, things that will drive you forward in your life anyway. It makes it more meaningful and more motivating. And it helps to break the task into smaller steps that are a lot more manageable. I'm not going to learn is there such a thing as a trumpet concerto? Maybe. I'm not going to learn that the first time, but I can learn my scales. I can learn, particular lines one at a time. Number 3, what resources and support systems do I have or need to successfully complete this task? Are there outside resources? Are there supports? Knowing that I don't have all the answers, are there people in my life that are happy to give me a hand and support me through it? 4, what recurring negative thoughts do I have about my abilities or potential? And where do these thoughts originate from? So this allows you to see that these thoughts and beliefs did not occur in a vacuum. They've been established from, experiential lineage. There's a historical account for them in your own narrative, in your own life, that at a certain point you've picked these, what's that saying? You didn't pick them up off the floor. So this question helps self-reflection on persistent negative thoughts and explores their origins, whether they stem from past experiences, feedback from others, or societal influences. Can you see the ground zero for that thought? And I think that's helpful not only because you're able to see that there's a history, but I think it kind of breaks the mirage that there's universal truth in it. For me anyway, I always find relaying something back to the mechanics of how the brain works, it kind of breaks the spell a little bit. I'm able to go, oh, I can see how my brain has formulated a universal truth around a particular scenario at a younger age, because the brain hates complexity. It hates for things to be fragmented and complicated. It'll go, I don't want to know about that. Give me the bite-sized version of it. And the bite-sized version of it is essentially what a self-limiting belief is. This happened once, therefore it's happening forever. Number 5 is, how do I react to challenges or setbacks? And what underlying beliefs might be driving these reactions? So that's going to help. It's going to help you to examine responses to difficulties and identifying where these beliefs can be causing to avoid challenges, give up easily, or feel overwhelmed. Can I place that overwhelm that I have about that task where I'm getting in my own way constantly? I'm getting all these negative feelings about myself. Every time I try, it's just reiterating that I'm bad at this thing, and I'm gathering evidence, and it's making me feel rubbish. So how am I reacting to challenges and setbacks? Am I reacting as if I should have everything figured out from the get-go? Or am I reacting in a way that I'm going, you know what? It kind of makes sense that I'm not really good at this, because every time there's an opportunity to do it, any initial setback, any initial difficulty, I go, see, I'm terrible at it. And how helpful is that? And how realistic is it? There's a hard truth I've had to swallow, which is actually, that's a very adolescent way of looking at the world. Stomp. Oh, I'm terrible at it. I quit. Those kind of ways of looking at tasks is actually a really comfortable way of making sure that one never has to adapt, get better, stretch, learn, or anything like that, because at the first sign of a hurdle, you now don't have to work any harder at it, because bam, see, I'm not good at it. Number 6, are there areas in my life where I consistently feel stuck or unable to progress? Now, this is a great way for you to identify self-limiting beliefs, and where the point of this talk is actually coming in from is, can you identify areas where there is that kind of, geez, why can't I get out of my own way? And where you are very able to go, there's something there. There's something else happening here. My one is studying. I would love to be amazing at studying. And for whatever reason, she says, not after giving a talk exactly on the reason, that there's an underlying belief there. So wherever you see yourself going, I would love to X, but for whatever reason, I don't seem able to get out of my own way where that's concerned. That's a wonderful, it's a wonderful life. It's a wonderful example of where those self-limiting beliefs are coming in. What specific thoughts or beliefs do I have around these areas? So my one around study is, I'm just not good at it. I'm not going to retain the information. My focus is terrible, blah, 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 blah. And I start to have thoughts, behaviors, actions, and emotions that make me go, oh, I don't want to do that, because actually I kind of feel stressed, overwhelmed, and rubbish at the thought of it. So that question helps to focus on identifying specific areas of stagnation and the associated limited beliefs that go along with that. And it'll provide you with a clearer picture of how those beliefs are holding you back. And number 7, what evidence do I have that contradicts my negative beliefs about myself? And how can I use that evidence to challenge and change those beliefs? So the brain loves being right. Surprise, surprise. We love being right. We love to be proven right. At a physiological level, that holds true as well. So our brain takes in evidence for us being right, and it totally has the blinkers up when it comes to anything that might contradict that. Know that to be a fact. Know that to be true, that there is a bias towards being correct rather than a bias towards maybe I could be wrong. The brain's like, no, I'm never wrong. The question helps to find and reflect on positive evidence that disputes the limiting belief, which helps to kind of go, okay, maybe I'm not always right about everything, including the things that make me feel rubbish about myself. Know that you have to work ever so slightly harder to find evidence to contradict your brain. And a tip I can give is it actually works an awful lot better if you write it out. Like, give yourself written evidence. It's almost like spoon feeding your brain, going, see, these are instances where I did do well, where I was able to be adaptive, because it does have that kind of that bias towards going towards the negative. Righto, so I've chatted enough, I would say, on how to get out of your own way. I hope you found this helpful. And that you can go back if you're feeling very enthused and motivated about making some changes in your life towards your intended goal or intended intention. That you might find the question aspect of this quite helpful. So that is me for today. Ramble time towards the end tends to be there. So I hope you found that helpful, and Andrew will be back with you guys next week. Have a lovely rest of your day, and for those watching back, hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you again now. Bye.